Welcome to Pig Pods. We give you actionable insight and stories behind real-life success wherever you go. Here are your hosts, Angelos and Mo.
Hello and welcome to this really special Pig Pod, where today I'm super excited to be interviewing an entrepreneur, property developer, investor, public speaker and trainer that, to name just a few of his achievements, with his business partner added £7.1 million to their property portfolio just in the last 2 years alone. He's got over 80 HMO rooms and has a £20 million pipeline of offers accepted for land development and commercial conversion deals. And to top that, started his first business at the age of just 6. So, as we'll discuss, it's not always a straight road to success though, which is what I'm equally excited to talk about. So, welcome Liam Ryan from Assets for Life, and thank you very much for taking time to speak to us today.
Lovely, wow, absolute pleasure. Thanks very much for coming down, and it's a real pleasure to be on the podcast and to share my journey with you and everyone that's going to be tuning in. So yeah, it's great. Thanks very much.
And we're actually live streaming as well, so that's exciting. So just an added bit of tech going on in the background. So I've listed off just some of your achievements, but can you take us back to kind of where it all started for you and where this entrepreneurial flame or flair kind of came from?
Yeah, brilliant. Well, I've always had an eye for business. I've always loved business. And I can really take this back to being about 6 years of age, and I don't know if anyone listening can relate to this, but you know, we lived on relatively rough council estates. We didn't have a lot of money growing up. It was a real struggle for my mum to put food on the table. So from a very, very young age, I always had this feeling inside of me that I wanted to protect my family, and probably grew up a lot quicker than what a lot of other kids did, and I associated money with happiness. Because we didn't have any money and we were unhappy, I thought, well, if I go and make a shed load of cash, then that's going to bring happiness to the table.
And what did that take you to do in the first instance?
So really from a young age, I started washing cars. For £3 a go, I would go and do the Michael Jackson dance at family get-togethers, and I would charge £2 to do my Michael Jackson dance. I was then at school, and then I set up a tuck shop. So I had a tuck shop selling sweets and crisps, and that then moved into things like toys. And moving into sort of secondary school, I was that kid at school that could get you what you wanted. I used to go in with 2 bags. I had my school bag with my pens and my pencil cases, and then I used to go in with like the bigger bag which had perfumes and jeans, and really I was the go-to kid at school for stuff. I worked as a market trader, so I got an eye for business from an early age, and I really enjoyed buying stuff and selling stuff and really helping people out.
And what did that lead on to when you kind of got out of like school age, and what was your first kind of proper business venture after that?
Okay, great. So when I was at school, I started to knock on doors for Zenith windows, which was really exciting. So I would leave school at 3:30. I'd go down to the local Zenith showroom in Colchester, and from about 4:30 till 9 o'clock, I'd go knocking on doors. And that was a really, really great experience. And what that gave me was a lot of confidence, abilities to speak to people, to sell to people. And I think selling to people in the right way with a great product is really important. That then moved on to working in an insurance company. That then moved on to me living abroad. I moved abroad at the age of 20 and started to work with high net worth and sophisticated investors.
Amazing. So there's kind of a theme there of sales. So you think like the sales in terms of being an entrepreneur and running a business, that's like an important part of it?
Yeah, I think that's really important, because a lot of people are scared of selling their product, scared of selling their service, and they feel that they are coming across like they're pressurizing people. Now, we're not into pressurizing people in sales, but if you believe in your product and you believe in your service, and for us that's now property and education, it's like we want to tell everyone about it. So it's really important to believe in your product and to tell people what it is you do and sell with passion and confidence.
And I suppose it's about the fair exchange of value, that actually if you believe in your product, you feel fair that you can actually charge a certain price because you know the other person is getting at least, if not more, than the price that you've put in it, right?
Exactly, and that's really important, to have a great product, you know, like property, working with investors or running an educational business. If people are getting results and you are over-delivering and you're always giving out great content, then you should sell more of your stuff.
And what about if you're not, I know we're going to come on to talk about business partners, this might be a good time to kind of start talking about it. What if you feel that you're not a natural born salesman, you know, and you weren't working market stalls and things like that from the age of 6? Is it best to just joint venture with someone that is, or try and like just focus on what you're good at, or learn it?
Yeah, you know, ultimately, if you're not a natural born salesperson, you can go and get help and support, and I would challenge you to disrupt yourself and go and attend a sales event at least once a year to take you out of your comfort zone, because at some point you're going to have engagement with somebody. But if it's not a massive strong point for you, then that shouldn't hold you back in business, because you can partner with someone that has got the opposing skill sets to you, to what you've got.
And there's the other part of that, I guess, that we want to talk about is, it's not just selling your product, is it? You're kind of constantly selling whatever you're doing. You're always selling, whether it's trying to sell an idea to someone, whether it's trying to sell the fact that you're a good business partner to someone else. It might not be a physical product you're selling, but really in terms of your brand, you're always on.
Yeah, that's an absolute great point. You know, ABC, always be selling.
Yeah.
ABS, ABS, always be selling. ABC, always be closing.
Right. Yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're selling your brand, you're selling your service, you're selling your vision. You're getting people to buy into you and your company and what you stand for. And that's really important, to have a good foundation in your business and to be clear on what you offer, how you can be of best of service, and then go out there and try and help as many people as you possibly can.
Yeah, fantastic. And so we mentioned business partners there, so let's talk about that. So do you want to talk about who you've partnered up with in your business? I know that you've got a business partner and you've kind of got different skill sets, so talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, great. So I believe you're only as good as your team. And I now believe, which I never used to believe, because I used to be a bit of a one-man band, and now not so much anymore. And I believe it's absolutely okay to focus on the things that you're good at and the things that you enjoy, and outsource and leverage everything else in your business. So I was very fortunate to have met my wonderful, amazing business partner, Jay Munoz. For those of you that don't know, Jay is a chartered civil engineer. He's been working in property for many, many years in the commercial space. And I met Jay because he was actually one of my solar customers. And Jay is very much like the numbers guy. That's what he's known for. He loves a spreadsheet. He's definitely the brains in the relationship. And I'm more the face of the company and do the sales and the marketing. And what happened was, I had a business in renewable energy. I moved back to the UK in April 2014, and my motto is go big or go home. So I got involved with renewable energy. I opened up an office. It was 3,500 square foot. It was like the place to work in Chelmsford. And the company grew, and before I knew it was up to like 95 people, and you know, massive investment into that company. And what happened in July 2015 is that the government made an announcement that they were going to cut the incentive paid to homeowners for having solar panels installed on their roof. And I don't know if anyone listening can relate to this, or that you've been in a position where you've lost money or you've lost a business. I knew in that moment that this business was not going to be scalable or sustainable, and I was going to have to close the doors. And that was a real difficult period. And I let go of 85 staff over 3 days, and we had some tears. I felt like I'd let people down. And one of my solar customers was Jay Munoz. And we got chatting, and I went to Jay's house, and he introduced me again to property. Now, I'd done property for a long time, but as an amateur, made money, lost money, bought stuff overseas, all the stuff that I know now not to do. You know, off plans, new build. And it just goes to show, you just don't know when one door closes, another one will open for you. So yeah, me and Jay got together, and there was some synergy. Our visions and our values aligned.
Yeah.
And I felt good about it, and I knew Jay could do all the stuff that I'm not good at, and vice versa. And we decided to create Assets for Life, and Assets for Life was created.
Fantastic. Oh, that's a fantastic story, and I totally agree with that. Myself, my business partner in our first business, Moorview, James has got a construction management background, and I kind of do the finance and banking side, and then we kind of do all the business stuff together.
Brilliant.
And then new JV partners that we've worked with, we've got an architect and a building surveyor, and interior designer and HR kind of consultant, and it's just, you can achieve so much more together, and you don't tread on each other's toes. You don't always agree, you know, that's part of it. You're not always going to agree because you look at the world in different ways, but the value add is just incredible, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, we wouldn't have been able to do what we've done in the last 2 years if it wasn't for our business partnership with Jay. And yeah, sometimes we don't see eye to eye, and he'll throw his toys out the pram, and I'll throw my toys out the pram, and every now and then we have a little word with one another. But you know, we're honest, we're open, and whoever you're going to go into business with, communication is absolutely key.
100%.
You know, make sure you're having regular meetings. Make sure you have a shareholders agreement. Make sure that your roles and responsibilities and your key KRAs, your key result areas, are out there in the open, and you just work together in unity. And I believe one of the most important things about being in business is I always want to go above and beyond. It's like, I want to be the best business partner. I want to bring the most to the table, and I know Jay also does the same.
So you're constantly trying to outdo each other.
We're
That's
like
great.
Up and down, and we're trying to constantly, but in a healthy environment. And by doing that, we push each other on.
Fantastic. And I just want to pick up on a point you mentioned there in terms of, like, you don't always agree, and there are, you know, times get tough. I think that's when the alignment of vision and values comes to the fore, really, and that's where it's really, really important, because when times get tough, if you're not aligned on those things, you can't get through the difficult times, right? And they are going to be difficult times. There's always ups and downs in business, and making sure you're aligned on that, and you've got the same values, and you think the same things are important is really, really key. So I'm glad you brought that one up. So
and I think on that note as well, it's like we both want to go above and beyond for our investors in property. And a lot of what we've done over the last 2 years has been with none of our own money. So for those listeners that want to get into property, or you're in property but you haven't got any available cash, that is not going to hold you back getting the right support, help and systems. We're also aligned in terms of, you know, we're both family men, we love spending time with our families, and we just want to go above and beyond for people, and to create a really nice ethos within Assets for Life. And one of our sayings, it's got to be a win-win.
Yeah, fantastic. No, that's really cool. So we talked a lot about the success side, and obviously you've achieved a massive amount in the last few years and things like that. But part of the reason we're doing this podcast is we talked about always seeing the great things that people are doing, but we actually wanted to explore the kind of the rear end of success. So, like, what are the dirty bits that, like, no one wants to talk about, and actually you don't see, because why would people publicise it? And I think what we want to just take you back to, I know you've had a few kind of things in your life that have happened that have kind of sparked a change, and what I want to do is just discuss those and what you learned from that, and how you grew into, and how it actually made you better now. So can you take us back to...
Of course I can. So I was living overseas for many years.
So when was this?
This was, well, really from the age of 20 into my early 30s. So, you know, about 12, 13 years. And I was working with high net worth investors, sophisticated investors, introducing them to offshore banking facilities. I also had relatively large lead generation businesses, so, you know, telesales operations, generating leads for different companies in different sectors. And the business grew and grew and grew. And during that time, as you do when you're a bit younger, you start having a few drinks, you start going to a few clubs, you get introduced to a few drugs, and I started to take drugs. And it wasn't too long before I was then taking drugs on a day-to-day basis, and I became addicted to cocaine and alcohol. And from the outside looking in, you know, fast cars, big houses, Italian suits, gold Rolex watches, you know, everything looked fine, but actually on the inside I was pretty destroyed, and I was in the grip.
So you were making money. So for people that think, you know, they've got a goal and they want to, you know, just earn more and more money, it's actually, you'd achieved that and you got to that point, but that wasn't enough. You still weren't.
There was something inside, and I believe now, and I've gone through this whole transformational journey, I believe that it's an inside job. And what I looked for many years was the outside to fix my inside. And I had to go on a whole spiritual journey about who was Liam and where I was from. And I went and got the right help and support around drug addiction and alcoholism. And as of just last month, you know, I just celebrated 6 years clean and sober.
Fantastic.
So it's like, wow, the turnaround. And a lot of those struggles I'm now able to bring into my day-to-day life. And, you know, having a balance is really important. Like, I love business, but it's important to have a balance, and important to be open and honest with people. We are who we are, and we've all got great qualities that we can bring to the table.
And well, we don't want to go into it too much, obviously, on this, but was it a kind of a cold turkey thing? Obviously, a really important point that you made was about the support, and I think that's really key when we talk about business and property and entrepreneurship, having people that support you kind of emotionally in terms of your friends and family, but also like mentors and people that are ahead of you in the journey. When you were going through that period coming off drugs, was there relapses or was it straight in cold turkey?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I first done a stint in a rehabilitation centre in 2005, then back in 2008, and then had a few relapses. And it was September the 25th, 2011, which is now my clean date.
Wow.
So it wasn't, you know, it wasn't straight away. It took some time. But you know what it was? A good friend of mine called Will reached out. He put his arm out to me, and I took it, and he took me through what we call the 12-step program. And part of my vision now, and our vision even for Assets for Life, is to go and help, you know, 10,000 other addicts, alcoholics achieve sobriety. And this is why we're so passionate about education. And someone put their hand out to me, so I feel it's my duty, and this is what I enjoy, putting my hand out to you to say, you know what, we can do it together. You don't have to do it on your own. So that was like a mentor for me.
Yeah.
And now we're massive believers in mentorship, in business and in property, surrounding yourself with the right people.
Yeah, and I know you, in that vein, you went on the Progressive VIP program and you won that. Was it VIP of the year?
Yeah. So we you know, me and Jay teamed up as business partners, and we went on to Progressive VIP in November 2015. And we went to the Christmas get-together in the December, and I remember sitting at the back of the room with Jay, and we were like the newbies, and I remember nudging Jay side to me. I said, Jay, next year we're going to win.
Wow.
And I didn't know how we were going to do it, but it was on my vision board, and it was like, we're going to do that.
And let's just pause there, because I think that's a super important point. You didn't know how you were going to do it, but you knew that's the outcome you wanted, and I think that's really important. Talking about a vision board, talking about having goals, people get very caught up in the detail of how you're going to get somewhere, but actually just putting a stake in the ground and saying that's where I want to be, or like that's where I want to get to. Don't worry too much about the detail. It will all start to play out and things start to align. That's what you
I think it's really important. Just make a decision. Actually, it's bigger than a decision. It's make a pledge. Make a pledge to you and your family that you're going to achieve what you're going to achieve. Say yes to opportunity, and then just figure out how you're going to do it. But you don't have to figure out on your own. It's like, get a business partner, get a mentor, get educated, and day by day make small decisions and little bits of action on a daily basis, which will compound. And then all of a sudden you're 2 years up the road and you've got like £7.1 million property portfolio. You know, we've raised over £3 million in JV finance. We run a very boutique high level educational program where we can help people like you. It happens.
Yeah, fantastic. And so the other thing I wanted to pick up on as well, and you mentioned it, was the renewable energy business you had. What was your biggest learning from that? Do you think you scaled too quickly? Do you think you had overheads were too high? Do you think you were too reliant on the government and things like that? What was your takeaways from that, and how has that changed you as a businessman now?
Yeah, so coming back from living overseas and being very successful and building a big business, my motto was think big or go home. It still is.
Yeah.
And I went involved with renewable energy, and I grew the company too quickly.
Right.
So the overheads were through the roof, and even though we were getting great sales, I was too confident. And at that period, I actually stopped having business mentorship, which I had for many years. So it was almost like in my mind, maybe some arrogance, some control. It was like, well, I've done it. And I was so confident in my ability that I went 150%, which I still do today, but I've learned to be a bit more cautious.
And you surround yourself with
And I've
people,
now learned to surround myself again with the right type of people. So my learning from the energy company is to not grow too quick. Be honest if things are going wrong, because I wasn't honest. My pride got in the way, and I was too scared to tell people. And then when the government pulled the incentive, it was too late. And if I'd just done some things 6 months before, I wouldn't have lost the money that I lost.
Were there warning signs that that kind of stuff was coming in, or was it just totally out of the blue?
It was pretty sudden.
But you had big overheads and
massive overheads, big investment. 95 staff. It was big, and it was great, but the money wasn't there. And when you're in business, in property or any business, it's all about profits, cash in bank. It's not about how you look. It doesn't matter if you're a one-man band or you've got 100 people. Are you making profit? And I lost sight of that. Really, and it was all about image and being bigger and better than everyone else. And it humbled me. And it was even though I lost money, I needed to lose that money to go to another level.
That was the cost of your education. And actually, I think the fantastic thing is that's been a key learning now for you that you're taking forward. And actually, as we've said, you're a better businessman because of it. And I think that's really key with everything, to look at failures as just another chance to give it a go, but with the learning from it, rather than just really beating yourself up about it. You obviously picked yourself up and just cracked on, which is fantastic, and something that we've talked about a lot through the podcast, and we're going to discuss with the people interviewing. So that's fantastic. So what I wanted to do is just get your. We've touched on a few, but I just wanted to get your. Firstly, what does success mean to you? So in your Liam Ryan's mind, how do you define success?
Okay, so success for me is having a balance in all areas of your life. Okay, the biggest part of success for me is being okay with you as a person. So spiritually, mentally, physically, being okay with exactly who you are, and mindset's really important. And then of course, I love cash and I love stuff, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to have even more millions of pounds in the bank. There's nothing wrong with that. So ultimately, financial security is really important. Spending time with my kids is a real high value of mine, and my wonderful partner Holly, and we're getting married next year, so very excited for that. And also having a positive impact on everyone that you come into contact with. That to me is a measure of success. How are you going to be remembered? And with the launch of Assets for Life and what we're doing, we want to be remembered for adding value to people. And of course, on top of that is all the cash, and that's also great as well.
Fantastic. So, what would you say are your top 5 success tips? So 5 things that you think aspiring entrepreneur, property developer, business owner, even just someone that's thinking about maybe doing a business in the future, what would to get to your definition of success, what would be your 5 biggest tips?
Okay, so great question. Okay, so 5 top business entrepreneur property tips. Okay, so I may have recapped some of this stuff, but the key thing is to be absolutely okay with you as a person, and to believe in yourself that anything is possible and you can bring lots to the table, because we're all unique individuals and we've all got great qualities, and we've also got flaws, and that's stuff we can work on. So that's top tip number 1. Top tip number 2 is to focus on a business model that you're going to enjoy and you're going to be good at, and is going to earn you cash. Okay, so that's top tip number 2. Top tip number 3 would be to continually get educated. Okay, so continually listen to audiobooks, listen to podcasts. Make sure that you have got at least one person, i.e. a mentor, in your life that you can turn to at any given time and say, hey man, like this is what's going on for me, like I need some help. So make sure you've got a mentor in your life. Top tip number 4 is say yes. So many people say no. It's like say yes to opportunity, and if you want to go do something, it's like just do it.
It's that great Richard Branson quote, isn't it? If someone offers you an opportunity and you're not sure how to do it, just say yes and then work it out.
Just say yes and figure it out as you go. Like, don't be put off by outside influences. Don't be put off by negative people in your life, because all you end up doing is living their dreams and not living in your own dreams. So say yes to opportunity. And I would say a top tip number 5 for business is keep investing your profits and building an asset-backed business.
Yeah,
so build a business that's going to bring in passive income, so then you are not reliant on society, you're not reliant on a job, you've got money coming in on a monthly basis that is going to pay your bills, feed your kids, do all the nice things that you want to be doing. So build an asset-backed business, and this is why we love property.
Fantastic, great tips. So I'm now going to ask you just to pick one of those that you think is the most important or has had the biggest impact in your life.
Wow, the most important or the biggest impact? They're all really important. For me, it's been a journey, certainly over the last 5 or 6 years, from the inside out. So for me, it's been absolutely in tune with you as a person. Because if you're not okay with, it's like the starting point. And you know what, I'm sure you can relate, people tuning in, we've all got the monkey on the shoulder, and we have to develop skills and ways of getting rid of that monkey and saying, this is what I'm good at, this is not what I'm good at.
And that's okay.
And that's okay. And I never used to believe that. Like it was all, I had to be good at everything or I felt like a failure. And now I've got my core strengths and I've got lots of weaknesses. So I would say that's probably, like, for me, has been a life-changing journey, and that's given me a lot more confidence and belief in myself to now, raise more money, work with more people on mentorship programs, etc., etc.
Amazing, fantastic. Well, I mean, thank you so much. We've got to end it there, but thanks for joining us on Pig Pods. Obviously, we've heard about a level of success that you've achieved already, but I know from knowing you personally, this is just the beginning for you, and there's loads more to come. So we'd love to have you back on again at some point in the future. But for now, Liam, thank you.
No worries. Thanks for having me. Totally enjoyed it. Thank you.
You've been listening to Pig Pods. Click subscribe for more incredible content. More details can be found at www.pig.network.